I wanted to provide some insights regarding the rules about the Assembly and Senate inactive files. Assembly Rule 78 deals with the inactive file on the Assembly side and says first that whenever a bill has been passed twice on the third reading file on two successive legislative days, that bill shall be placed forthwith upon a special file to be known as the inactive file. Of course, the second method of getting there is that a bill may also be placed on the inactive file at the request of a bill author. When a bill has been placed on the inactive file, what transpires is that it may be returned to the third reading file by request of the author on any legislative day. And during a legislative day on which there's no floor session, an author of an assembly bill or the assembly floor manager of a Senate bill can submit a written intention to remove the measure from the inactive file to the assembly chief clerk. And then the chief clerk places that written intention notice in the daily file. In the daily journal. In addition, the assembly chief clerk has to submit that written intention to both the Assembly Speaker as well as the Assembly Republican leader. And then the notice of the request to return the bill to the third reading file is then published one day in advance in the Assembly Daily File. And the bill, once it gets returned to the third reading file, it's placed at the bottom of the third reading file. Notice of removal of resolutions and concurrence items from the inactive file when there's no floor session or published one day in advance in the Assembly Daily File. Now, when a bill that's been placed on the inactive file from the second reading file or the unfinished business file, then it's removed from the inactive file and returned to the bottom of the second reading file or the end of the unfinished business file in the next day's Assembly Daily Journal. On the Senate side, they have their own rules in Senate Rule 29 dealing with the order of making files. And what Senate Rule 29 provides is that an inactive file shall be kept to which bills and resolutions may be transferred at the request of the author or on a motion being made. And bills that have been transferred to the inactive file can also occur when they've been passed on the third reading file without any action 3 successive times, as opposed to the Assembly's 2. The bills and resolutions can be transferred from the inactive file to the second reading file on a motion. And after being read the second time, the bills take their place regularly on the third reading file, where they can be available for consideration and ultimate passage. Bills, resolutions, and any questions may be transferred from the unfinished business file to the inactive file upon request of the author or by motion, and of course, from the inactive file may be returned to the unfinished business file by request of the author or upon a motion. And placement of any question on the Senate inactive file doesn't prejudice that particular question. So those are the specific Senate and Assembly rules related to the inactive file.